America's first self-made millionaire called this grand estate her home. And today it has undergone a design transformation, bringing a piece of history back to life. The details up next on Designing for History, the Madam Walker Show House. From the daughter of freed slaves to America's first millionairess, from shack to chateau, from grit to glamour, the story of Madam C.J. Walker is an being transformed to once again a place. Hi, I'm Joan Cohn, and welcome to Design. When it was completed in 1918, the New York Times called this home a place fit for a fairy princess. Madam Walker's 35-room Mediterranean-style mansion was built overlooking the Hudson River. Many of America's most spectacular castles are built here. This beautiful, unspoiled area became an enchanted kingdom and a playground for the men who dominated Wall Street at the turn of the century. Jay Gould, known as the Wizard of Wall Street, and the most notorious of the robber barons, built a 40-room Gothic-style mansion here known as Lyndhurst. Even today, its architectural splendor remains a testament to America's finest Gothic revival style. Frederick William Vanderbilt was part of one of America's wealthiest families, and according to the New York Times, Vanderbilt bought the finest 600 acres on the Hudson and built a 50-room, 50,000-square-foot mansion here. And in the early 1900s, no one made more money than John D. Rockefeller. His fortune in the oil refining business rose to $1 billion. And it's here on 4,000 acres of prime real estate in the Hudson Valley that Rockefeller built his castle, a 6-story, 40-room Georgian-style mansion known as Kaiket. But it's probably safe to say that neither Rockefeller, Gould, nor any of the Vanderbilts who lived in the Hudson Valley ever socialized with Madam Walker. Because while the Hudson Valley attracted America's wealthiest families, very few of its residents ever thought a black person would be included in this exclusive neighborhood, let alone a black woman. But that's exactly what happened in the fall of 1916.
Initially, when she started building the house, some people thought that perhaps it was someone's maid coming to inspect the property. And when they realized that Madam Walker herself was the person who was going to move into the property, some people saw it as an invasion.
For Madam Walker, it was more than a dream come true. It was almost a mythical rags-to-riches fairy tale. Born Sarah Breedlove in 1867 on a Delta, Louisiana plantation, this daughter of former slaves transformed herself from an uneducated farm laborer in the cotton fields to a celebrated entrepreneur, philanthropist, and social activist. She was orphaned at age 7, married at age 14, a mother at 17, and a widow by age 20. Madam Walker had everything going against her, but somehow she persevered and triumphed. As she sought a better life for herself and her 2-year-old daughter, Madam Walker moved to St. Louis, where she earned a reputation as a first-class washerwoman.
But as a washerwoman, she was making $1.50 a week, and it wasn't going to make her life improve in any measurable way anytime soon. And she said, I prayed to God one day when I was washing clothes, my arms were buried in soap suds, and I said, how am I ever going to improve my life? How am I, a poor washerwoman, ever going to have a better life? Well, coincidentally, around the same time, her hair had begun to fall out. She had scalp disease, a very severe scalp disease that was very common among African-American women and white women at the time.
Madam Walker experimented and ended up creating a scalp treatment that restored her hair and then turned a $1.50 investment into a thriving hair care products company in just 7 years. In 1910, Madam Walker established a company headquarters in Indianapolis, a city that was at the heart of America's transportation network. By 1912, Madam Walker had trained a force of African-American women as sales agents that numbered 2,000. 5 years later, she had organized her sales force into a union and held what may have been the first annual convention for American businesswomen. She adopted the title Madam in keeping with the fashion of many women proprietors of her era. and attached it to her second husband's last name, Walker. However, her second marriage ended in divorce in 1912. And 4 years later, Madam Walker purchased this property in the exclusive Irvington-on-the-Hudson neighborhood. She hired Verner Tandy, the first black architect licensed in New York, to create what she said was a dream of dreams.
I would describe this house as being an American eclectic design, American in the sense of its originality, eclectic in terms of the architectural styles from which it was copied. Clearly there are some Mediterranean influences here, Spanish, Italian, with influences of Moorish architecture as well. The front of the house reflects the fact that it was built in the second decade of the 20th century. And that is to say, it would have been a perfectly symmetrical facade, except for the fact that Tandy chose to add a significant porte cochere at the side of the house to accommodate her automobile. Madam Walker was one of the first to have a big, fancy automobile. The backside is really much more elegant than the front is. There's an enormous staircase that leads down from the rear rooms here on the first floor to a pool about a level and a half down. This is a wonderful gesture towards the river.
When it was completed, the cost of Madam Walker's mansion on the Hudson was $350,000. During a visit to the home, world-famous tenor Enrico Caruso said the finished result was so similar to estates in his native Italy, he gave the mansion an Italian-sounding name, Villa Lewaro. And unlike her neighbors, the Rockefellers, the Goulds, and the Vanderbilts, Madam Walker built her castle in full view.
Madam Walker built her house close to the street. It's a statement, I think, on Broadway, a very bold statement, that everyone who drove through this very wealthy village see the home of Madam C.J. Walker, the wealthiest African-American woman in the country.
She was not only the wealthiest black woman alive, but she's listed in the Guinness Book of World Records as the first self-made American woman to become a millionaire of any race. And now, 8 decades later, Madam Walker's home still stands as an inspiring beacon to all who enter. Villa Lewaro has undergone a transformation by interior designers and artisans who have brought this mansion back to life.
The main salon or reception hall has undergone one of the largest design transformations. Here, guests are awed by the expansive ceiling that is English in its architectural design.
The restoration took about 4 weeks to do. Originally, the ceiling was painted pink and white, which was totally wrong. So we did our research and we decided that the blue would be the right color for the ceiling. And so with a lot of undercoating and mixing of paints, we actually achieved the right color. And then we started the work and the gilding, and well, as you can see, it has turned out very well.
In addition to the ceiling, the Italian-designed bronze chandelier is original to the room. Other original elements in the main salon include the handcrafted moldings and fireplace, which have been recreated with a limestone finish. And around the ornately carved fireplace, an inviting seating area is created with matching sofas and accented with an array of pillows.
We chose sort of a random collection of pillows in the same colors with varying textures and styles. Again, just to add a sense of liveliness. The sofa style is formal, but with the addition of the assorted pillows, it gives it a more comfortable, welcoming feel.